suppose we should kick off with this early release for sex offenders, which is on the front page of the Times. We've been through this once before, back end of last summer, wasn't it, when they decided to let loads of lads out.
Guess what?
Yeah.
We're 99% full again.
Right.
Uh-oh, what do we do?
Yeah.
No planning, no. Oh, someone calls them from a prison and says we can't take any more.
It's beginning to sound like the NHS crisis, this, isn't it? You know, like every winter.
Yes.
Oh, we go 24 hours to save the NHS. It's now going to be every month. Oh, there's another prison crisis.
Well, I mean, there are no plans for how to rehabilitate people, how to reintegrate them. You just kind of release them.
Right.
Then they run around causing absolute chaos, and then they're recalled to prison.
Yeah.
This thing about Shabana Mahmood panicking and basically saying we're heading for a total breakdown of law and order. So we're going to release domestic abuse and sexual offenders, but we're not going to release anyone too dangerous.
Right.
Well,
And
actually, to a lot of victims, those people are extremely dangerous.
Exactly. And do you remember last time they did that? There were women who had been sexually assaulted or abused.
Ex-partners are basically on the scene again.
Right. And they weren't even told about it.
They weren't told, and much earlier than was planned, without any kind of proper rehab. And also, Mike, the chaos of people like that, domestic abusers, sexual offenders, being released and then recalled. You know, A, how much is all that costing? B, it doesn't solve the overcrowding problem. We are not solving it.
No.
I saw something in the papers yesterday about, we're going to build 3 new jails. I don't know whether that was just more pie in the sky.
They probably just said that,
but they're not
in the act of actually building them. So knowing how
what about using the massive, empty, pointless hospitals that we built during the COVID era?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, really.
Right. Well, there's any number of places they could use. There's any number of places around the country that they could actually find
probably
space
use the Bibi Stockholm.
Well, exactly. But here's the thing. The reason that it didn't work last time was because they couldn't tag enough people, because the system for tagging doesn't work very well. So probation is under massive pressure. So if they let all these people out, they won't be properly tagged. Nobody will know what they're doing. If they do get recalled, they'll just get recalled, as you say, for 28 days now, for a shorter period of time.
And they know that. They know that. They can make contact. A friend of mine who works in probation service says it's absolute chaos that people are not properly monitored. As you say, probably not tagged properly, but not properly monitored, checked in on after they're released.
No.
So I mean, what is going on here? And then we have prison guards. I mean, someone had their throat slashed yesterday.
That's it.
So there is absolute we already have lawlessness within prisons.
Yeah.
And for many of us in Britain nowadays, you look around and the shoplifting, just to name, but if or the fact that if your home is burgled, police don't really seem to care unless you're a showbiz celebrity who's had £7 million worth of jewels taken from your hotel room, or your suitcase stolen at St Pancras.
Unless you've written something down on social media, in which case you get loads of police to come round. But no, the problem here, I think, as well,
it already feels like this total breakdown in law and order for those of us living in this country.
Right. But the problem is that they can't solve the prison law and order problem by letting the people out of prison who are committing the violent crime in the prison, which seems to be what Shabana Mahmood wants to do, because it turns out that the Victims and Crime Commissioner, which is Baroness Newlove, says victims will understandably feel unnerved and bewildered by today's announcement. This cohort will either have committed sexual or violent offences or been assessed as posing an unacceptable risk of harm to the public. So why are they letting them out?
It's absolutely nonsensical, and it's another kind of wishful thinking plan for Labour that has not been thought through.
Yeah, but
and
it's another civil service.
Abuse,
you can tell it's a civil service plan, written by people who are too young to have ever probably been inside a prison and see what it actually looks like, and telling people how we should run things.
That's key, though, isn't it? Understanding how the justice system works, understanding what it's like inside prisons. People like sort of Peter Blexley, who actually kind of know what crime is about.
Right.
I don't think
and
these
what
people
criminals are like.
What criminals are like, what it's like to be a prison guard, and having your throat slashed, and that kind of that kind of climate. And I mean, Shabana Mahmood, what experience does she have?
Yeah, I know.
With the best will in the world, I don't think she has a plan on this.
Yeah.
And also, Mike, it doesn't, exactly as you say, it doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
We're still going to have more criminals who need to be put somewhere.
Yes, and think of the criminals that are not actually being sent to prison because there's no space for them.
Because there's a lot of them that are not being sent to prison, and they're out on the streets.
And they know that, right? And so they don't stop committing crime because
there is no deterrent.
People say you have to commit at least 30 to 35 crimes before you even get to prison. So you're already a pretty serious criminal, because first offenders don't get sent to prison, and second, third, fourth, fifth offences, no chance. But you have to be a recidivist criminal to even go anywhere near it. So
it beggars belief.
Yeah.
And again, as you say, there's no deterrent. It's a bit like immigration in this country. There's no deterrent.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you cross over? Why wouldn't you come here on a small boat?
And then you see stories like this about another female prison guard who had sex with a rapist up to 40 times whilst on duty. She's avoided jail. There's something very odd going on with prison guards at the moment. First of all, why have you got women prison guards in a men's prison? I mean, it doesn't sound like a great idea to me. Surely that shouldn't be possible.
Exactly.
This woman's called Sherry-Ann Austin Sadlington, lots of names, 29. She became besotted with a very exceptionally dangerous sex offender called Bradley Trengrove after he was moved to HMP The Verne in Portland, Dorset. The pair embarked on a 6-month relationship and had sex in workshops while nobody was around. It's a prison. How's nobody around? How have they not got CCTV? How are you able to have sex in a workshop, which you shouldn't even have?
There should be an absolute ban on relationships between prison guards and prison.
Well, there shouldn't be women in men's prisons.
No, of course there shouldn't.
I mean, you know, just call me old-fashioned.
No.
I
completely agree with you on that. But I also don't have. I don't know how this kind of thing can go on for 6 months.
Yeah.
And criminals, I mean, they're not being punished. They're having relationships.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're having a great time. Well, do you remember that there's been all sorts of footage of people smoking, drinking, having parties,
I don't even know
music.
how that stuff gets into prisons. There's a real problem with security, with just monitoring, with what's going on between the guards and the criminals.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's having sex with him, is she also helping stuff to be brought in?
Well, you would imagine so.
Well, there you go.
I think that's
mobile
probably,
phones and drugs.
And I think that's part of the whole problem that's going on. All these women who are relatively attractive-looking women going into the prison business, they must be doing it for a reason.
Exactly.
And this is probably the reason. Let's have a look at what Shabana Mahmood had to say. This is the Minister for Justice.
While the spending review is ongoing, I can announce today that the Treasury will fund our prison expansion plans in full across the spending review period. This is a total capital investment of £4.7 billion. It allows us to start building 3 new prisons, including breaking ground on a site near HMP Gartree later this year. This investment will also fund new cells at existing prisons, with new house blocks and rapid deployment cells opened across the country.
It all sounds like gobbledygook, doesn't it? You know, all they can tell you.
Rapid deployment cells being suddenly found. Where? I thought you were 99% full.
Right.
It's okay.
It was like that Angela Rayner conversation about the housing.
Yeah.
You know, well, where are all these immigrants going to stay when they come here? Oh, well, there's plenty of houses. Well, hang on, you just said there aren't plenty of houses.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's not plenty of those kind of houses.
No, they're not houses for British people.
It's like how many, you know, we haven't got enough prison spaces. Oh, but we've got some other prison spaces that we can have.
And we've got rapid deployment cells.
Yeah.
And do you remember when Keir Starmer said, we've got this amazing border force, and he called it something really amazing? I've never heard anything more of it.
No. Well,
it was something like...
is now really good at delivering people into Dover.
Yeah, they are.
That's basically what they're good at.
And then escorting them through.
The day that he made his speech about immigration on Monday, 7 boats, 7 border force boats.
Beautiful day. They came sailing in.
Straight in. It was absolutely incredible.
And they were escorted into Britain. They're practically given flags and, you know, a welcome passport.
And here and now we've got Starmer going off to meet the Albanian Prime Minister, Edi Rama, in Tirana today. So he's going to head over there to find shared solutions to the problem of illegal immigration. Well, first of all, they still haven't done anything about it. We've got 12,000 foreign criminals in our prisons. About 9,500 to 10,000.
And a lot of those are Albanians.
Here's what I would suggest you do, Mr. Starmer, is put the 10,000 Albanians, you know, basically on a load of coaches, and you can take them with you to Albania and go, here you go, you can have these lot back. And then suddenly you've got 10,000 spaces.
Albania is actually a really good example. I know there are many other criminals, but why are we not just sending that lot back?
Well, we keep saying they're going to.
Albania is a safe country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a particularly nice country. I've been there, and
it is now that all the gangsters have left.
Criminally
to work in London.
Yeah, it's riddled with bullets. The whole place is a bit of a nightmare. I thought Tirana was one of the most unpleasant and crime-ridden places I've never. Don't. And actually, Starmer, why doesn't he stay there? Because it's a horrible place. I've got no kind of fond feelings about Albania, but it is a safe country. They can't pretend that they're here for reasons of asylum or they're fleeing war or anything.
Well, especially if they're in prison.
Why have we never been stricter? Just send them back to Albania.
Yeah.
And also, I think this trip to Albania. I mean, Starmer's looking so desperate. He's literally out of ideas now.
He really is.
Because the Albania deal is going nowhere already. Giorgia Meloni's been trying to do a deal with Albania, and that hasn't really worked. And if she can't do a deal with Albania, but he loves going there, doesn't he? Starmer doesn't host people here. He just loves escaping. Downing Street and getting out of the UK because he's so unwelcome. He likes a summit in Downing Street. He likes if he's getting more than sort of 10 different world leaders coming in. That's always good. He likes to mix it and match it with the old. But I've noticed Euro he does leaders. More getting on planes and going somewhere else. Yeah.
Well, particularly what he would regard as probably the two-tier countries, and I'm sorry to mention two-tier to two-tier Keir, but the two, what you might call, you know, not the big countries of Europe, like Spain, Germany, Italy, France, Belgium. He likes to go to places like Albania because he thinks they'll treat him like a sort of mini celebrity because he's from a big country in Europe. So they're talking about having hubs to send people, third countries, mind you, like Rwanda was a third country. Only this will be Albania, Serbia, Bosnia, and North Macedonia. Any deal would require Britain to pay for each failed asylum seeker relocated.
So each one.
So for each person we send to any one of these hubs, we have to pay them to go.
Even though they're Albanian, we can't just send them back. Or they're Macedonian, we can't just send them back. And do you remember this thing about paying £3,000 to encourage people to bugger off?
Which is what he's done already. Which is how he
thousands per person.
It's how he managed to get the 24,000 deported back in sort of November, which he keeps going on about as if that's such a big deal.
Job done.
He hasn't deported anybody else since then, right? So if you have to pay people to leave, you're not really deporting them. They're voluntarily going.
What is there to discuss with this Eddie Rama guy? Here are your criminals. They committed crimes either in this country or in Albania. Have them back.
Exactly.
They're not our problem. What is the problem?
Well, I guess what he's going to go there and do is say, look, you know, not only can you take some Albanian criminals back, but you can take some other people back who are not from Albania, and we'll pay you to look after them. Because even though it sounds like a terrible deal for Britain, which it is, it's still cheaper than us housing them in hotels and homes in this country.
Oh, no, I'd be happy for him to do that, Mike. I just really, really doubt this will add up to a row of beans.
Of course it won't.
Nothing will come of this. And as you say, the first thing he did was to cancel Rwanda. And I was very critical of Rwanda, and I thought it was a bit of a rubbish deal and very, very expensive. But at least follow through after we paid all that money. Just carry on with Rwanda, for goodness sake. Now,
he might as well have.
He had no replacement plan.
He really didn't. He will announce today, says The Times, that Britain will supply drones and share intelligence with North Macedonia and Montenegro in an effort to cripple the people smugglers. However, ministers acknowledge that the government will need to develop policies to deter people from making the crossings. Oh, really? You think? And also, I've been to Montenegro, and one of the days that I was in Montenegro was a big holiday weekend, and suddenly there was a lot more traffic, and suddenly all the cars that were coming through the part of Montenegro that I was in all had Albanian plates on, and some of them had German plates and English plates, and they were lovely cars, and all very top of the range BMWs, Mercedes, and all that. And I asked a guy that I was with, I said, why are all these cars coming in from Europe? He said, oh, they're all Albanians. You know, but they've got these cars in the countries they live in, i.e. England, you know, Britain, France, Spain, because the network of Albanian drug smuggling is massive in Europe, right? And people smuggling.
That was when I went to Albania. I was in Montenegro, and we drove just over the border into Tirana. And it's absolutely, I mean, the Albanian criminals are all over Europe. But I don't understand. So we're going to be doing more of this problems with security, sharing information, paying people to take them. This is not the plan.
Right. This is all part of his plan to smash the smuggling gangs, by the way.
Well, you can say it better than he can.
Smuggling guns.
I call him Enoch Starmer now. I think that would really annoy him. I think that would really annoy him.
I'm sure it would really annoy him. That's still going on as well. There's a lot of reverberation.
Yeah, of course. Labour MP's not happy.
Labour MP's not happy.